I work the front desk at a Sydney hotel. Last month, an American checked in and immediately asked where he could exchange his dollars for Australian money. I told him we use dollars too. He looked confused. But like, different dollars, right? I explained yes, Australian dollars. He nodded slowly, then asked, so how many of yours equal one of mine? I told him about exchange rate. He interrupted, no, I mean in value. Like, $1 real equals how many Australia dollars? I just stared. Sir, our currency is real. He laughed. Sure, but backed by what? You guys don't have a Federal Reserve. This man genuinely believed American dollars were the only legitimate currency and everything else was monopoly money with exchange rate. He argued with me for 10 minutes about monetary policy. He'd never left North America before. When I tried showing him exchange rate charts, he said those were just conversion ratios, not actual value. He wanted to speak to someone who understood international finance. I'm literally holding a commerce degree. He asked if I could just accept USD at face value since it's worth more anyway. I explained that's not how sovereign currencies work. He left a review saying our hotel doesn't understand basic economics and tried to scam him with fake money. At a cafe in Melbourne, an American tourist got indignant about the prices. $18 for breakfast? This is criminal. She demanded to know why Australia was price gouging tourists. The owner explained our minimum wage is $23 an hour, so prices reflect that. She said, that's not my problem. I didn't vote for your wages. She left $3 on the table and walked out. The owner chased her down the street. She called the police on him. At a Sydney pub, an American asked why we don't have free refills. The bartender explained that's an American thing. He said, no, that's a business thing. You're losing money. He tried explaining profit margins to an Australian business owner. This is going to be a long one. I'm a tour guide in Queensland. An American couple asked if we had safety gear for the rainforest walk. I said we'd have water and first aid. The husband wasn't satisfied. What about snake protection? Drop bear repellent. I thought he was joking about drop bears. He wasn't. He'd read about them online and brought a motorcycle helmet, just in case. I tried explaining drop bears aren't real, they're a joke Aussies tell tourists. His wife showed me a convincing-looking website. It says they're Australia's most dangerous predator. I told them multiple sources online perpetuate the joke. The husband got annoyed. That's irresponsible. What if someone gets hurt because you told them it's fake? I asked why a tour company would lie about safety. He said, liability. If you admit they're real, you'd need insurance. They wore their helmets the entire hike. Other tourists kept asking if they were okay. The couple started warning everyone about drop bears. Created a whole panic. One family left the tour early. They left a review saying our guides deny basic Australian wildlife facts for liability reasons, and that I was criminally negligent. The husband emailed our company demanding we add drop bear warnings to our website. He CC'd the Australian Tourism Board. In Perth, I run a beachside cafe. An American woman refused to go near the water because she'd seen Shark Week. Fair enough, sharks exist. But she extended this logic to everything. She wouldn't sit on the outdoor patio because of spiders. Wouldn't use the bathroom because she heard about redbacks under toilet seat. Asked if we had anti-venom stations like AED machines. When I said that's not really how it works, she accused me of hiding information to avoid scaring tourists. That's exactly what someone would say in a lawsuit-heavy environment. She'd brought her own EpiPen for spider bite. I explained EpiPens are for allergic reactions, not venom. She said her doctor told her it works for all toxins. I asked which doctor told her that. She said she'd read it online from medical sources. She ate her lunch standing in the doorway, ready to run inside if anything moved. Wouldn't let her kids play in the sand. Every time a bird flew past, she flinched. A seagull landed near her table and she screamed. Other customers stared. She yelled, "Do something." I said, "It's just a seagull." She said, "Birds carry diseases. Where's your pest control?" She demanded we comp her meal because of unsafe conditions. Tipped in American coins, which we can't use. My wife works at a wildlife sanctuary in Tasmania. An American family arrived for a tour. The father asked where the kangaroos were kept secured. My wife said they roam the sanctuary grounds freely. He looked horrified. Just loose? What if they attack? She explained kangaroos are generally docile if you don't provoke them. He wasn't convinced. These are wild animals. In America, we'd never let lions walk around a zoo. She pointed out kangaroos aren't lions. He said size doesn't matter, wild is wild. A kangaroo can disembowel you with one kick. Technically true, but rare. My wife explained thousands of tourists interact with them safely every year. He said, until they don't. When a kangaroo hopped near his daughter, he shoved between them and yelled, "Back! Get back!" The kangaroo just stared, confused. The daughter started crying because she wanted to pet one. He told her absolutely not. Other kids were petting kangaroos nearby. His daughter watched them, sobbing. He demanded a refund because the facility was criminally negligent and putting children in danger. Left a review warning parents about aggressive, unsupervised wildlife and threatened to report us to international safety authorities. His wife looked embarrassed the whole time. I work at a Sydney aquarium. An American tourist saw our box jellyfish exhibit and panicked. Why would you display these where kids can see them? I explained they're safely contained in a tank. He said, kids are going to think they're safe and then go swimming and die. I told him we have educational signs explaining the dangers. He read one and said, "This isn't strong enough. You need skull and crossbones warnings." I said that might scare children unnecessarily. He said, "Good. They should be scared. This is Australia." He took photos of the exhibit and posted them on travel forums with warnings about how Australian aquariums normalize deadly creatures to children. Someone in the comments told him that's literally the point of educational exhibit. He doubled down. I'm a bartender in Brisbane. An American asked what we were watching on TV. I said AFL, Australian football. He corrected me. You mean rugby. I explained they're different sports. He insisted he'd done research and knew Australia played rugby, not American football, so anything called football here must be rugby. I tried describing AFL, 18 players per side, oval ball, 4 posts. He cut me off. Dude, I've seen rugby. This is rugby. I pulled up side-by-side videos on my phone showing the clear differences. He glanced at them and said, same thing, different camera angles. When I explained AFL is uniquely Australian with its own rules and history, he said, everything's derivative of something. Rugby came first, so this is modified rugby. I asked if he'd ever actually watched either sport before tonight. I don't need to, I understand how sports work. He spent the entire match loudly explaining rugby rules to his friends, getting everything wrong. When I corrected him again, he said I was being defensive about calling it the wrong name and that Australians have a weird complex about being different. His friends looked uncomfortable. One quietly Googled it and confirmed I was right. The American said Wikipedia can be edited by anyone. A rideshare driver in Adelaide told me about an American passenger who asked to be taken to downtown. He asked her to clarify which specific part of the city she meant. She repeated downtown slower and louder. He explained Adelaide calls it the CBD or city center. We don't really use the term downtown. She got frustrated. Every city has a downtown. Just take me there. He drove her to the central business district. She complained the entire way that Australians rename everything to be difficult, and downtown is a universal term that everyone should understand. When they arrived, she asked where Times Square was. He said Adelaide doesn't have a Times Square, that's New York. She meant the main touristy area with all the lights and crowds and big screens. He took her to Rundle Mall. She was visibly disappointed it wasn't more like a real downtown, American style. She asked where all the skyscrapers were. He pointed out several buildings over 30 stories. She said, "Those aren't skyscrapers. I mean like real ones." She left 3 stars because the city layout is confusing and the driver didn't understand basic directions. He has a 5-star rating from everyone else. I work at a bookstore in Sydney. An American asked for books about Australian history. I showed him our extensive local history section. He picked up a book about Aboriginal culture and asked when Australia got natives like America did. I explained Aboriginal Australians have been here for over 65,000 years. They're the oldest continuous civilization on Earth. He looked skeptical. Before the British? I confirmed yes, Indigenous Australians are the original inhabitant. He said that didn't make sense because Australia was a prison colony, so it started with British people. I explained colonization displaced existing populations who'd been here for millennia. He thought about this then asked, so they came with the prisoners as like workers. I clarified Aboriginal people were here first, living in complex societies. Then the British arrived and colonized. He frowned. I thought Australia was empty and they sent criminals to fill it up. That's what I learned. When I suggested he read the book to learn the actual history, he said he'd look it up online later to verify what I told him. He bought a cookbook instead. Asked if we had any books about real Australian history, like Crocodile Dundee. I'm a museum guide in Melbourne. An American family asked why we had so much British stuff in our exhibit. I explained Australia was a British colony, so much of our early history involves British influence. The father said, "But you guys are independent now, right?" I confirmed yes, since 1901. He looked confused. Then why do you still have the British flag in your flag? I explained the Union Jack represents our historical connection to Britain. He said, "That's weird. When America became independent, we made our own flag." I agreed that different countries handle independence differently. He said, "You should change it. Having another country's flag in yours means you're not really independent." I explained we're a fully sovereign nation. He said, "But you still have the Queen." I corrected him, King Charles now, and it's complicated. He said, "See? That's not independence. America would never." His wife told him to drop it. He didn't. My brother's a pharmacist in Canberra. Last week, an American came in demanding Tylenol. My brother said we call it paracetamol here and offered him the equivalent brand. The American refused. "I need actual Tylenol, not a substitute." My brother explained it's the exact same drug with the same active ingredient, just different branding in different countries. The American wasn't buying it. Tylenol is FDA approved. How do I know this is safe? My brother showed him the active ingredient label, acetaminophen, identical concentration. The guy squinted at it and said, "This is in metric. How many real milligrams is that?" My brother said metric is the real measurement system, actually, it's the international standard. The American scoffed. "That's what they tell you." He asked if my brother had gone to real medical school or Australian medical school. My brother has a pharmacy degree from the University of Sydney, one of the top programs globally. The American said, "Right, but that's not Johns Hopkins or Harvard." He wanted to know if Australian medicine was FDA regulated or just approved locally by Australian standards. My brother explained Australia has the TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration, our equivalent regulatory body with equally rigorous standard. The American looked doubtful. So, not FDA, not the real one. He asked if Australian pharmaceuticals were tested the same way or if we had lower standards because of universal healthcare. My brother was losing patience. He explained Australian drug approval is incredibly strict, sometimes stricter than the FDA. The American said, "You have to say that." He left without buying anything. Apparently went to 3 other pharmacies asking the same questions. One pharmacist told him to just take paracetamol or suffer with his headache. He chose suffering. Posted on travel forums warning Americans that Australia doesn't have real medicine and to bring supplies from home. Listed paracetamol as a sketchy local substitute for Tylenol. Someone in the comments explained they're the same thing. He said, "Nice try, Australian pharmacy shill." Here's the thing about these stories, they're not about people being dumb. They're about people so deeply embedded in one system that they can't fathom another might work differently but equally well. American exceptionalism meets Australian practicality, and the collision is absurd every time. These folks aren't idiots, they're just so convinced their way is the universal default that everything else seems wrong or fake or dangerous. Got more stories like these? Next time, I'll tell you about the Americans who thought Vegemite was expired chocolate spread and demanded refunds. Stay tuned.